Greetings, my friends. Sit ye down. And today, we're going to do something a little different. Rather than telling stories of the ancients, we're going to take a little bit of a deep dive into some of the major players of the Greek pantheon. We'll be covering the big 12, who are the primary Greek Olympian gods, though we're actually going to cover 14 gods today, gods and goddesses, because there's debate about who the 12th Olympian should be, and we also need to cover Hades, who isn't technically an Olympian, but a video covering Greek gods and not talking about Hades would be slightly heretical. So, let's dive in. First up, we have Zeus. Zeus is the king of the gods and the supreme ruler of the cosmos, governing the sky, thunder, lightning, and just in general divine law. He is the youngest child of the titan Kronos and the titaness Rhea, and for the full story we have done that on the channel already. To prevent a prophecy that one of the children would overthrow him, Kronos swallowed each of his offspring at birth. Zeus alone, however, was saved when Rhea hit him, and instead gave Kronos a stone to eat. He was not perhaps the most observant. Raised in secret, Zeus grew to adulthood and forced Kronos to regurgitate his siblings, beginning the great war between the Olympians and the Titans, known as the Titanomachy. After the Titans were defeated, Zeus and his brothers divided the universe. Zeus claimed the sky, establishing himself as the ultimate authority over gods and mortals alike, when they came along. As ruler, Zeus is responsible for maintaining general cosmic order, enforcing oaths, and generally punishing injustices, something that is slightly, shall we say, hypocritical of him, as we'll come to in a second. He is deeply associated with law and balance, yet his authority is often challenged by gods and humans, leading to dramatic conflicts. Zeus's primary symbols are that of his main weapon, the thunderbolt, but also those of eagles, oak trees, and sceptres. These all represent power, kinship, and again, divine judgment. Whilst he is often portrayed as wise and authoritative, Zeus is fundamentally flawed as a character, being not only impulsive and emotional, but notoriously unfaithful to his poor wife Hera, who we'll cover in a second. His numerous romantic affairs with gods, mortals, nymphs, everybody, result in vast lineages of other gods and goddesses, as well as heroes, including, but not limited to, Athena, Apollo, Artemis, Hermes, Persephone, Dionysus, and so on the god side, and heroes and heroines such as Hercules, Perseus, and Helen of Troy. In myths, Zeus is frequently caught intervening in mortal affairs, sometimes rewarding hospitality and justice, and other times delivering catastrophic punishments along the lines of floods, plagues, lightning storms, divine curses, and so on. He is feared, but also relied upon as the ultimate arbiter of fate. Despite being king, Zeus is not all-powerful. Fate itself can override his will. He has been defeated in battle many times before, such as by Typhon, again someone we've already covered, and other gods regularly resist or try and manipulate him. Number 2 is Hera, or Hera, depending on who's pronouncing it. And she is the queen of the gods. She is both sister and wife of Zeus. Don't think about it too hard. A union that symbolises divine rulership, but is also marked by constant conflict, the irony here coming from Zeus's many, many infidelities, but Hera being the goddess of things like marriage, queenship, and legitimate authority. Hera's origins mirror Zeus's, as she too is a child of Kronos and Rhea, but she was swallowed at birth. Hera's role in myths generally centres on the protection of marriage and the enforcement of loyalty within it. Ironically though, many of her most famous stories involve Zeus's infidelity, which fuels many of her defining traits. Well, her poor ones anyway, such as pride, jealousy, and relentless vengeance. Hera rarely directs her angers at Zeus himself, instead punishing his lovers and children, usually in cruel and elaborate ways. The number of curses, transformations, plagues, and so on that she loves to throw their way, it's a lot. But again, mostly fueled by Zeus himself. Her symbols include that of peacocks, cows, diadems, and occasionally pomegranates, all representing beauty, fertility, and royal authority. Hera is generally portrayed as being dignified and commanding, but is deeply emotional and unforgiving. She's one of Zeus's greatest rivals in many ways, despite being both his sister and his wife, openly opposing many of his plans in myths, such as those in the Trojan War, where she actively works against Troy due to many of her personal grudges. Notable myths for Hera include the persecution of Heracles or Hercules, depending on who's telling it, from birth, driving him mad, forcing him to live a life of suffering and heroism. She also plays a major role in the judgment of Paris, where her rivalry with Athena and Aphrodite leads directly to the Trojan War. Don't worry, we'll cover both of them in a second. Despite her harshness, Hera is not a villain. She's more a representation of consequences and betrayal, and she has a fierce defense of status and legitimacy. She is reactive, not proactive, though not always in the nicest of ways. Number 3 is Poseidon. Poseidon is the god of seas, earthquakes, storms, and horses, for some reason. And he is one of the big 3. Like Zeus and Hades, that we'll cover at the end, he is also a son of Kronos and Rhea. After the Titanomachy, Poseidon received dominion of the oceans, though he frequently resented Zeus's authority and challenges him frequently for leadership. Poseidon's personality is often portrayed as volatile, prideful, and easily provoked, reflecting the unpredictable nature of the seas. His primary weapon and symbol is the trident, which he uses to shatter lands, raise storms, and cause major earthquakes. He is also associated with horses, bulls, and dolphins specifically. Despite being the god of the sea, dolphins seem to come out on top. Many myths portray Poseidon as vengeful, but usually only when disrespected. He competes with Athena for control of Athens, though loses this after offering a saltwater spring instead of her olive tree. In response, obviously, he just floods the entire land in anger. He is also a central figure in the Odyssey, relentlessly tormenting Odysseus for blinding his son, the Cyclops Polyphemus. Poseidon has numerous children, many of whom are monstrous or dangerous, including the aforementioned Polyphemus, Pegasus, and the giant Orion. He frequently fathers heroes and creatures with mortals and sea nymphs alike. Whilst Poseidon can be generous and protective, his rage is legendary, and his grudges can and will last for generations. Up next, Demeter. Demeter is the goddess of agriculture, fertility, and the general life-giving forces of the earth. She is a sister of Zeus and one of the oldest Olympian goddesses. Unlike many gods who seek power or glory, Demeter does no such thing. Her role is about sustaining life and crops, seasons, natural growth. She doesn't tend to be portrayed as ambitious, happy to just continue in her work. Her defining myth, though, revolves around her daughter Persephone, this is what I want to cover soon, whom she bore with Zeus. When Persephone is abducted by Hades, Demeter's grief is so profound that she withdraws her blessing from the world, causing crops to fail and the new humanity to starve. This accidentally destroys the balance of the cosmos, forcing Zeus to intervene. Demeter's symbols include wheat, grain, poppies, torches, and the cornucopia. She is, again, generally quiet and nurturing, but is occasionally capable of immense wrath when her role as a mother is violated. Her anger is often quiet but devastating, expressed not through violence, but through deprivation. The resolution of Persephone's myth establishes the seasonal cycle. Persephone spends part of the year in the underworld and part on Earth, explaining winter and spring. Demeter's persona blends maternal care with fierce protectiveness, making her one of the most emotionally powerful gods in Greek myth, though it does rarely show up. She is often overshadowed by many of the bigger players, such as Zeus and Poseidon, who are known to be wrathful quite a lot. Athena. Athena is the goddess of wisdom, strategy, justice, and disciplined warfare. She is the daughter of Zeus alone, born when he swallowed her pregnant mother Metis, and later split his own head open, allowing Athena to emerge fully grown and in full battle armour. The origin symbolises intellect, born directly from reason, though it comes from Zeus, again, a flawed and prideful being, so Athena is occasionally seen as not overly happy when Zeus refuses to listen to her, despite, well, she's the goddess of wisdom after all. Athena represents controlled strength, planning, and intellect, rather than just raw aggression. We'll come on to him in a bit. Her symbols include the owl, olive trees, spears, shields, and the Aegis, which is a particular shield bearing the head of a Medusa. She is a virgin goddess devoted entirely to reason, law, and civilization. She also serves as patron and guide of many heroes of myth, including Odysseus, Perseus, and Heracles, or Hercules, often providing strategy and protection rather than brute force. Athena is known for rewarding cleverness, but also punishing arrogance, especially when mortals challenge her authority, particularly in skills. One day we'll have to cover the story of Arachne. Athena is fiercely competitive and holds grudges, particularly with Poseidon and Ares, who's the other war god that we'll come onto in a bit. While she values justice, her punishments can be hard and often permanent. She embodies the idea of wisdom and power, making her one of the most respected and formidable Olympians, though often overlooked and not listened to. Apollo. Apollo is the god of the sun, music, poetry, prophecy, healing, and general reasoning. He is the son, again, of Zeus and the titaness Leto, and the twin brother of Artemis, who we'll cover next. From birth, Apollo was associated with order, harmony, and intellectual pursuits, representing clarity and structure, both in the natural and divine worlds. He is often a little chaotic, though, despite being the god of reasoning. His primary symbols include the lyre, laurel wreaths, bow and arrow, and the sun chariot. The lyre representing his mastery of music and culture, whilst the laurel wreath is tied to his love for Daphne, a mortal who was transformed into a laurel tree to escape him. The sun chariot connects Apollo to the celestial order and the sun, though in sun myths the sun itself is driven by Helios, who is a titan. Over time, Apollo becomes more closely associated with the sort of solar light and truth rather than being the sun itself. A little complicated, but Apollo, the sun god. Apollo is most famous though for his prophetic powers, particularly through the Oracle of Delphi, where mortals would seek guidance. He was a strict enforcer of divine law and justice, punishing hubris and impiety with devastating effects. Among his myths are the slaying of the Python of Delphi, which establishes his sanctuary, and the stories of his unrequited loves, such as Daphne and Cassandra, demonstrating both his allure and sometimes tragic consequence. Apollo's relationships are often complex. He is adored by mortals and gods alike, but can also be quite vengeful. He supports the Greeks in the Trojan War, sending plagues and influencing battle outcomes, but he's also equally capable of punishing arrogance or defiance. His persona is generally balanced, reflecting both beauty and danger, wisdom and strict moral enforcement. Artemis is the god of the hunt, wild animals, the moon, and childbirth. She is the twin sister of Apollo, again the daughter of Zeus and Leto. Unlike her brother, who represents order, Artemis embodies untamed and independent aspects of nature. Another virgin goddess, she fiercely protects her autonomy and the purity of those under her care. Her symbols include the bow and arrow, deer, cypress trees, and very commonly the moon. These symbols reflect her dual role as huntress, but also guardian of the wilderness. Artemis often roams forests with a retinue of nymphs, detached from civilization, yet constantly involved in the protection of life and chastity. Important myths emphasizing her role as both protector and punisher. She outright kills Actaeon when he sees her bathing, punishes Niobe for boasting about being superior to her mother Leto, and intervenes strongly to protect mortals and children in various stories. She's often contrasted with Apollo, again where he is reason and order, she is freedom, instinct, and natural law. Artemis's relationships in myths are defined mostly by loyalty and also vengeance. She is revered by nymphs and mortals who respect her rules, but is generally ruthless towards those who transgress boundaries. She often plays a role in childbirth, paradoxically as a virgin goddess, overseeing the safe delivery of life, whilst maintaining her own independence. Her persona blends care with fierce authority, reflecting the wild, unpredictable forces of nature. Ares is the god of war, representing bloodshed, chaos, and violence, rather than strategy or honour. He is the son of Zeus and Hera, though his mother often dislikes him due to his reckless, destructive tendencies, and Zeus is usually off with some other woman, too much to pay attention to him. Unlike Athena, who is about disciplined combat, Ares is raw and emotional and almost universally feared rather than admired. His symbols often include a spear, helmet, dog, vulture, and a flaming torch. These symbols all capture his aggressive and destructive nature, as well as his association with death on the battlefield. Ares thrives in combat, embodying the pure physical and emotional intensity of war and battle. Unsurprisingly, Ares' myths frequently involve combat with other gods and mortals. He is wounded in a battle with the mortal Diomedes in the Iliad and is trapped in a jar by the Aloedae giants, showing that even gods are vulnerable. He is also infamous for his illicit affair with Aphrodite, despite her being married to Hephaestus, two more will come on to in a moment, which underscores his impulsive and emotional nature. Ares has a contentious personality. He is feared, combative, and overall lacking foresight. He is more of a force of chaos than any sort of god of justice, serving as a reminder to all of the destructive and uncontrollable sides of human nature, and again, war. Yet he is also vital in many a myth, as war is an inseparable part of existence, and his presence emphasises the consequences of unchecked aggression. Aphrodite. Aphrodite is the goddess of love, beauty, desire, and general attraction. She has a dual origin in myth, either being born of the sea foam near Cyprus, fully formed and irresistibly beautiful, or as the daughter of Zeus and Dione. It really depends what era of myth you're reading, but these are where they come from. She is married to Hephaestus, but is again famously unfaithful, taking after her father, with countless liaisons with gods and mortals, most notably Ares and Adonis. Her symbols include the dove, the swan, the rose, the myrtle, and the scallop shell, all representing beauty, love, and sensuality. Aphrodite wields immense influence though, capable of inciting love and desire in anyone, god or mortal, again, often with profound consequences. Many myths focus on her power to inspire passion, but also chaos. She plays a pivotal role in the judgment of Paris, offering Helen of Troy to Paris in exchange for being deemed the fairest of all the goddesses, thus indirectly starting the Trojan War. Other stories, such as her protection of Paris and her role in the loves of mortals like Adonis, illustrate both her charm and her manipulative cunning. Aphrodite's personality is seductive, confident, but often vindictive, with quite a mean streak that is often overlooked. She rewards beauty and love, but really punishes those who scorn or insult her. She interacts frequently with other gods, forming alliances with gods like Ares, and rivalries, such as gods like Athena and Hera. Aphrodite embodies the transformative and often unpredictable power of desire, both creative and destructive. Love, according to Aphrodite, has two sides, both the positive, the love and the enjoyment, but also the negative, the pain of the heart and the longing. Hephaestus. Hephaestus is the god of fire, metalworking, craftsmanship, and invention. He is the son of Hera alone, or in some accounts Zeus and Hera, because we've got to get Zeus involved in here somehow. Known for being physically imperfect or lame or just generally disfigured, depending on where your sources come from, he is at least traditionally less beautiful than the vast majority of other Olympians. Yet he possesses unmatched skill and ingenuity. Hephaestus represents intelligence, creativity, and the tangible manifestation of skill. His symbols generally include the anvil, the hammer, the tongs, and just any fire in general will do, reflecting his role as the master craftsman. He has created weapons, armour, and artefacts for basically every god and hero that will come up, including in some stories Zeus's thunderbolts, though they can also come from Cyclops, Achilles' armour, and Pandora's box. Myths for Hephaestus often highlight both his skill, but also the social challenges of his imperfection. He is married to Aphrodite, whose numerous affairs, especially with Ares, humiliate and provoke his jealousy. there is a certain irony that the quote-unquote imperfect Olympian is also married to the goddess of beauty. Despite this, Hephaestus remains indispensable, often demonstrating patience, cunning, and the ability to turn his misfortune into creative genius. In one famous story, he traps Aphrodite and Ares in an invisible net to expose their affair to the other gods, showing both his cleverness and his general capacity for vengeance. You see a running theme here? Hephaestus embodies the contrast between physical imperfection and intellectual perfection, highlighting that skill, ingenuity, and craftsmanship can wield far more power than raw strength or beauty. His personality is often calm, methodical, and occasionally prideful, but always defined by his extraordinary talent. For the last concrete member of the Olympians, number 11, we have Hermes. Hermes is the messenger of the gods and the god of travel, communication, trade, cunning, and also trickery. He is the son, Shocker, of Zeus and the Pleiad Maia. From birth, Hermes displayed his cleverness and mischief, famously stealing Apollo's cattle as an infant and inventing the lyre from a tortoise shell to make amends. These early stories perfectly encapsulate his combination of ingenuity, audacity, and general charm. Hermes' primary symbols include a staff entwined with snakes, winged sandals, a winged hat, and the tortoise-shell lyre. These symbolise his speed, open communication, commerce, and invention. He moves freely between the mortal world, Mount Olympus, the underworld, anywhere he wants really, acting as a bridge between realms. He is sometimes also considered the guide of souls to the underworld, leading the dead safely to Hades' realm. Hermes also assists gods and mortals in myths as a clever mediator and as a general trickster. He aids Perseus in defeating Medusa, helps Odysseus with divine guidance, and frequently protects travellers and thieves alike. His intelligence and cunning allow him to manipulate situations without direct confrontation, embodying wit and adaptability. Hermes' personality is generally lively, playful, and unpredictable. He enjoys trickery and cleverness, though not to the same extent as characters like Loki from Norse mythology, as Hermes' mischief rarely causes lasting harm. It is more about the fun than vindictive malice. He is respected by gods and mortals alike for his speed, ingenuity, and ability to navigate complex situations. At this point, we need to split slightly, because there is often debate about who the 12th Olympian actually is. I'm going to cover them both. We have two choices. First up, we have Hestia. Hestia is the goddess of hearth, home, and domestic peace. She is the eldest daughter of Kronos and Rhea, making her technically the firstborn of the Olympians, though she is rarely involved in the dramatic conflicts that define her siblings. Hestia's role is understated but rather crucial. She represents stability and unity that underpins both divine and mortal life. Her symbols include the hearth, flames, kettle, and domestic fire, as compared to Hephaestus' industrial fire. All of these represent warmth, safety, and continuity. Another virgin goddess devoted entirely to the sacred flame of the home and community. She is abstained from marriage and generally from personal ambition. Hestia's presence is constant, providing the spiritual and symbolic foundations for family and communal rituals. While she does not appear in that many myths or adventures, Hestia occasionally interacts with the gods and mortals indirectly. She relinquishes her seat amongst the 12 Olympians to Dionysus, who we'll cover in a moment as the last potential Olympian, to preserve harmony, exemplifying her selflessness and dedication to stability. Hestia embodies calm, patience, and peaceful authority, providing a counterbalance to the drama and the chaos often displayed by other gods. Hestia's persona is nurturing, protective, and unwavering. She is rarely vengeful or combative, presenting a quiet power and domestic order. Her importance lies not in conquest or dramatic feats, but simply in the continuity of life, hearth, and home, both divine and mortal. Dionysus. Dionysus is the god of wine, ecstasy, revelry, madness, theatre, and transformation. He is, shocker, the son of Zeus and the mortal Selene, making him the only Olympian with a mortal mother, though he is later granted immortality. Dionysus embodies pure unpredictability, liberating feelings, and the chaotic forces of life, contrasting sharply with other gods representing order, such as Athena and Apollo. His symbols include a grapevine, a staff tipped with either an ivy leaf or a pine cone, leopard skins, drinking cups, and theatrical masks. These reflect his connection with fertility, intoxication, celebration, and performance. Dionysus' festivals often involve music, dance, and ecstatic rituals that break social and often moral boundaries. In myths, Dionysus often travels to spread his cult and divine influence, facing resistance from mortals and gods alike. Notable stories include his encounter with the pirates who tried to kidnap him, whom he transformed into dolphins, and King Pentheus, who was torn apart by frenzied maenads for refusing to honour him. Dionysus also resurrects his mother Semele, highlighting his association with life, death, and rebirth. Dionysus' personality is rather paradoxical. He is joyful and liberating, yet capable of, like many of the other gods, extreme rage and vengeance. He rewards devotion, but punishes disbelief, often with madness or just outright destruction. He forms strong bonds with his followers, including satyrs and maenads, but is sometimes depicted as both nurturing and terrifying. Dionysus embodies transformation, liberation from social constraints, and the ecstatic, irrational, and chaotic sides of existence, completing the spectrum of Olympian divine power. There is one god that we should absolutely touch on who is not technically an Olympian, but is still one of probably the top 5 most important gods to come up in Greek mythology, and that is Hades. Hades is the god of the underworld and the ruler of the realm of the dead. He is one of the 3 sons of the titans Kronos and Rhea, making him brother to both Zeus and Poseidon, hence his incredible power. Like his siblings, Hades was swallowed at birth by Kronos and later freed by Zeus, after which he fought in the Titanomachy to overthrow the old Titan order. When the cosmos was divided, Hades received dominion over the underworld, ruling the unseen realm beneath the earth, while Zeus took the sky and Poseidon the sea. Unlike many Olympians, Hades does not reside on Mount Olympus and rarely leaves his own realm, which is the major reason he is often excluded from the canonical list of the 12 Olympians. Nevertheless, I still think we should cover him in detail. His kingdom encompasses all aspects of the afterlife, including the meadows of Asphodel, the fields of punishment, and the Elysian fields, reserved for heroes and the favoured dead. Hades is not the god of death himself, that role belongs to Thanatos, a minor god, but rather the administrator and sovereign of death's domain, enforcing its laws and ensuring the natural order is maintained. Hades' symbol includes his helm of invisibility, the bident, the cypress tree, serpents, and precious metals. His helmet, forged by the Cyclops, grants invisibility and is sometimes borrowed, shall we say, by gods and heroes, such as Athena and Perseus. Because all mineral wealth comes from beneath the earth, Hades is also associated with riches, and is sometimes referred to in Roman mythology as Pluto, meaning the wealthy one. This aspect also emphasises his connection to hidden abundance rather than malevolence. In terms of personality, Hades is stern, reserved, and deeply serious. He is not impulsive like Zeus or volatile like Poseidon. Instead, he is methodical, strict, and unyielding when it comes to the laws of his realm. Once a soul enters the underworld, Hades ensures it does not leave without divine cause. Despite his dark and fearsome reputation, he is often portrayed as more just and reliable than many of the actual Olympians, rarely lying, breaking oaths, acting out of infidelity, or acting out of petty emotion. One of his most significant myths, though, which I want to cover soon, involves Hades in the abduction of Persephone, daughter of Demeter. Hades takes Persephone to the underworld to be his queen, either with or without Zeus's prior consent, depending on the version you hear. Like we said for Demeter, her grief causes the earth to become barren, temporarily threatening the survival of humanity. The conflict is resolved when Persephone is allowed to return to the surface for part of the year, though because she eats some of the seeds of a pomegranate, she is bound to return to the underworld annually. Persephone eventually becomes a powerful and respected queen alongside Hades, though though she hates him for a long time, ruling the dead rather than remaining a passive captive. Hades' relations with the other gods is defined generally more by distance than hostility. He maintains a formal relationship with Zeus, recognising his authority, whilst ruling over his own domain independently. He rarely interferes with divine politics or wars unless they directly affect the balance between life and death. With Persephone, his relationship evolves into one of shared rulership, and together they preside over judgment, punishment, and reward in the afterlife. So, there we have it, a whistle-stop tour of the Big 12, though we've actually covered 14, and the Greek gods in general, their structure, and basically how all of them came from Zeus in one way or another. If you like this sort of video, do let me know. I'm planning on continuing to do this sort of video as well as the story videos, so I'd love to hear your opinions in the comments. If you have any questions, please leave them down there as well. But with that, my friends, I grow weary, and so I bid you good night.